Hello friends on YouTube, Nathan Lawrence, Good News Tree Service of Wilsonville, Oregon here. I travel, and recently I found myself with my wife in Rome, Italy. And we were delighted to discover that there's a Japanese garden actually in Rome, Italy. It's part of the larger Rome Botanical Garden in the Trastevere neighborhood of Rome. And as you come into the garden, you go up these steps, which are part of a villa that was from the 18th century, a very wealthy, noble Italian family. And you go up these steps that were built in the 1700s, and you climb up this hill to the Japanese garden. It's a very auspicious and kind of a dramatic way, classical way to enter through kind of a Baroque style stairs into a whole world of its own, a jewel in the middle of a very busy, hustling, bustling, noisy city, the Rome Japanese Garden. And here we are just coming into it, still climbing up the hill, coming up a winding path with sheared shrubs on either side. There's cherry trees. There's about 30 or 40 varieties of trees and plants in this Japanese garden. There's maples, Japanese maples, all kinds of things. And we're still wandering, still walking up the path. And we're about to encounter the water features. So there's a series of water features. You can hear the sound of the water as you get closer, as you're walking up this winding, strolling path. This is a strolling garden. This garden was designed by Ken Nakajima in 1993. The Japanese garden layout displays a modern application of traditional Japanese garden rules. The area itself is the most tranquil environment in Rome. And after traveling all over by foot, all over Rome, boy, I can attest that that is true. It has calming waterfalls, beautiful magnolia trees, and delicate shrubbery. You almost forget that you are in one of the busiest cities in the world. And the beautiful thing is, I forgot to mention, the admission is only €5. That takes you, gets you interest into the whole botanical garden as well as the Japanese garden. So here we are passing kind of a tea house. It's not really a tea house, but it's a resting place, and it overlooks the city. You're up on the side of this hill, one of the hills of Rome, and you can see the city off in the distance. Got some beautiful vantage points, as you can see here in the film. We zoom in and we can kind of see some of the main features. There's the Victor Emmanuel II Memorial. And now we're continuing on toward the upper pond. So it's built on a hill, and there's an upper pond and a lower pond, and there's waterfalls that go down from one pond to the other. So here we see some koi. This garden has some of the main features of a typical Japanese garden. It's got the pines, it's got several pine trees, it's got some Japanese lanterns, it's got some koi, it's got some wonderful rocks placed strategically in a very natural kind of a way, and it's got gorgeous waterfalls you can see here in this picture. In fact, it's got a couple of waterfalls that cascade down from one level to the other with paths that lead from the upper level down to the lower levels. And there's my bride of 32 years resting herself after pounding the pavement all over Rome. We had just come from the Trastevere neighborhood, and we're resting after spending a few days traveling all over Rome by foot. So here's the pond again, and you can see some of the beautiful shrubbery and some of the pine trees. And this is literally a gem. I've had the privilege of visiting a number of Japanese gardens in several countries and several states in the U.S., and this is really a gem. It does need a little bit of tender living care. It desperately needs somebody to come in and do some pruning, but it is a beautiful, beautiful garden, and it's certainly worth visiting, as well as all the other aspects of the botanical garden. The botanical garden has about 10 or 12 gardens within itself. This is the Japanese garden. It's got some bridges, and here now there's a stream that comes down from the main pond, which we're looking at right now. large trees, some sycamores and large maple trees, and a lot of Japanese maple trees. Of course, what would a Japanese garden be without Japanese maples? Now we're going to continue down the path to the lower pond. There's some beautifully sheared hedges, kind of cloud pruning. And here's the second waterfalls. And here's a view of the city, part of the city. So now we're kind of moving out of the garden. We're going along the stream as we are at the lower part of the garden. And again, you can see the waterfalls, and there's my bride. You need a kimono. This is the lower pond, and there's a couple, I've seen 2 lanterns so far. One up on the upper pond, and now this little guy. So as we exit the Japanese Garden of Rome, we come to the bamboo forest. It's got about 50, 60, 70 varieties of bamboo. This is pretty unique for Rome because you don't see a lot of bamboo growing in the Mediterranean climate. I hope you enjoyed this video tour of the Rome, Italy Japanese garden. It was a surprising gem that we found, this little oasis in the middle of this Mediterranean Italian city. If you have a chance to visit Rome, strongly encourage you for €5 to take a look at this and enjoy, and take a few minutes to just let the dust settle and slip into a whole nother realm and dimension. A little piece of Japan there in the middle of Italy. Ciao and arrivederci until next time.